Good evening. The District 208 Board of Education will come to order. You stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Durkin?
Here.
Jessica?
Here.
Ms. Ruska? Here. Ms. Black? Ms. Novak?
Here.
Ms. Benhart?
Here.
And Ms. Salas.
Here. And visitors this evening. You guys going early?
I don't know, do you want us to go first, or?
Are there other visitor comments this evening besides the music sponsors? Seeing none, then I'm going to go ahead and read our introduction while you guys come up and get situated.
I sent in a presentation.
Right, and we have
everybody's got a hard
copies of
copy.
it. Yes,
I
thank
didn't
you.
know if you were going to bring it up on the board or not.
I don't think it was. I don't think
It
it
was
was
a
going to be.
PDF. I think
Okay.
I printed a copy for every board member. Should have a copy.
Okay, then we'll just do it that way.
Do Kayla and myself have copies as well?
You can have mine,
Here,
Joe.
I have an electronic version, so here I can
Check my email.
Actually, Lorraine, would you mind reading something like, please? Here, I'll hand these over here. Thank you.
The Board of Education welcomes and encourages the participation of its citizens in the business of the school district. There are 2 points in the meeting where visitor statements are scheduled. Citizens are welcome to raise questions or make comments at either one. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and cannot be combined. Please note, the Board of Education will not answer questions or engage in dialogue during visitor comments. If a person would like additional time to address the board, such a request should be submitted in writing 48 hours before the meeting to the superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm here tonight just to give a progress report on our campaign for music education at RB. It's kind of you guys have seen some of this information before, but we wanted to give a little update of where things stand. If I go to page 2, the campaign objectives. As you know, our main objective for this campaign was to boost the enrollment of the RB music department and to get it back to full strength post-COVID. But our second objective was to also stabilize the music department staffing to allow for continuity in specialized teaching, excellence in sequential music courses, and maximize student participation in the fine arts. Our third objective for this campaign was just to bring our issues to the wider community as well and to stress the importance of a strong fine arts program at RB. So page 3 is just kind of a recap of what's been going on over the last few years. Prior to 2012, we had a fully staffed music department. We had 3 full-time teachers. And then it was right around 2012 or 2013 where we entered into this period. I think the district might have been in some financial straits where we saw cuts to the music department. We went into this cycle of periodic cuts for the one of the music teachers. And then the parents and the students would come to the board and appeal for those cuts to be reversed. This all came to a head last year in May. During finals week, choir students were called out of their class and learned of a drastic cut to their teachers' hours. This was basically the equivalent of one class, which would probably most certainly result in her leaving and looking for elsewhere for employment. So this culminated in a bunch of students and parents coming to the board for weeks, pleading for a reversal of these cuts. And as you know, in summer of 2023, those cuts were reversed. And it was about this time when I received a call from Dr. Skinkus to have a sit-down meeting with him, President Zalis, other members of the board, and the RB administration. We wanted to talk about the issues facing RB. It was right about this time that we had this sit-down meeting that we discussed the shared goal of boosting enrollment in music classes in order to justify the retention of an additional teacher. That was, in the eyes of the district and RB's administration, not required. Now, we were told that we'd have to work hard to ignite enthusiasm at the feeder schools and to get more students to choose music classes at the high school level, or else we'd be right back here again next year in the same situation. And here we are. I'm going to go back to the presentation. If we see what music parents and music sponsors have been working really hard this year. We've seen an explosion of participation in music clubs like the mariachi band, the a cappella group. A record number of students have been sent to district and state music festivals. The music parents have been vigorously promoting the RB's program at the community, at the feeder schools and at the community. We've also gathered data from other school districts and expert sources on the appropriate music staffing, and we brought this to the board. So, sensing that our appeals were falling on deaf ears, we began a full-scale campaign to bring our issues to the community. We created a fact presentation, and we launched an online petition and a social media blitz, and we've received enthusiastic support from the community. And our appeal has always been for 3 full-time music teachers. So as you can see, this community impact has been well received. We received over 1,400 petition signatures in the first 10 days, and we continue to see that number grow. The next page, we've had enthusiastic support. People write in saying that this is unacceptable, that we need a stable music department, that we need 3 full-time teachers, that it's unacceptable that we have to go through this every year. So if we go back to how hard that we've worked, the music parents, we've hosted feeder school nights, we've hosted receptions, we're connected with younger musicians and their parents, we're promoting a strong, stable music department. We've done our research, we've presented facts and figures and showing how other districts are staffing their music departments with the appropriate number of teachers. Despite all of this, we've heard very little from you regarding our efforts and the questions put forth about the way RB determines its full-time staffing for music classes. Our teachers, Mr. Baum, Mr. Loeb, and Ms. Matana, are right there with us. They're working at the feeder schools on top of their day jobs. And it's working. We hear reports of band and choir classes in the lower grades bursting at the seams with students ready to join the music ranks at RB in the next few years. But we have yet to see RB jump in wholeheartedly to assist us in this shared goal of boosting enrollment. Instead, you proposed combining jazz bands again. This is essentially a cut from last year's class load. The participation in this shared goal seems to be one-sided. If we go back to our presentation, we brought forth a little something from the District 208 Board of Education policy manual, where we have a flow chart. At the top of the flow chart is the community. The Board of Education reports to the community. The superintendent reports to the Board of Education, and so on up. We don't think that this is really being followed. We also, in the presentation, we brought forth a couple of board policies just to remind you of your role. The Board of Education is interested in receiving suggestions and concerns from members of the community. They are to help the community feel a more direct responsibility for the quality of education and promote a genuine spirit of cooperation between the school and the community. When it comes to the superintendent, he should plan and implement a district public relations program that will gather community attitudes and desires for the district, help the community feel a more direct responsibility for the quality of education provided by their schools, earn the community's goodwill, respect, and confidence, promote a genuine spirit of cooperation between the school and the community. So how's that going? As I said, we've made a public request to the superintendent and the Board of Education to discuss a sustainable future for RB's music program. So far, we've received a few handful of tired platitudes in lieu of a direct response. We hear we're not cutting any classes, yet, as I said, they're combining 2 jazz bands again. This is to the detriment of the Honors Jazz Ensemble. We've also heard from many families that students were discouraged from signing up for the new Bulldog Buddy Choir, which would have given the third teacher another period to teach. We hear FTE adds up over time, but in our research, the net addition to next year's budget for a third teacher to bring her to full-time would be about $15,000. The administrator salaries cost the taxpayers $1.3 million per year, according to public salary data. More excuses. We have to think about all 1,600 students. But in reality, the music program benefits all of these students, not just the 23% directly enrolled. They represent and serve the districts and the students by performing at home football games, basketball games, and other special sporting events. We support pep assemblies, theatrical performances with the pit orchestra, community concerts like the Veterans Day Assembly, holiday strolls, civic groups. They perform a cantata, community parades. Oh, and also, whenever there's a state send-off, who performs? The band. Oh, and then we have graduation coming up as well, and who's going to be there? The magical choir. Another thing we hear, if we give them this, then everyone's going to want something. We don't see this as a gift. Our students deserve a fully staffed music department. If there are unmet needs of any student groups, we believe they should be given serious consideration by administration. Now, music parents and teachers can keep building momentum and boost music enrollment for years to come. But until we have a serious two-way conversation with you, Dr. Stinkus, until we have that conversation on best practices in music programming at RB, our efforts will be for nothing. We can keep chasing this imaginary enrollment number, but it's up to you to make the actual change that will stabilize our department and keep music education strong and stable for future Bulldogs. Let's review the staffing formula and revise the arbitrary class caps that are put in place for musical ensembles so we can feel confident that our students are getting the best possible opportunities to learn and grow as musicians and have the adequate staffing to support them. Our organization is strong. We've got a succession plan in place so we're not going anywhere. Work with us to hold up your end of the bargain. Let's set a date tonight for another sit-down meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment this evening?
I'll make a quick one, but that was, I don't know if I'm going to properly do that any justice by speaking like I heard before. So hello.
Hello.
I just want to add to what Lisa already said about the incoming kids. I have a sophomore at RB. I have a 7th grader and a 3rd grader. So like right when one finishes, one's going to come in. So I'm here for a long time. They're all musically involved. I think high school is a huge bridge to college, to continuing music. 8th grade is kind of where a lot of kids, it's a make it or break it year. Like if you continue into freshman year, you're kind of set on a musical path. I mean, of course, kids come in during the course of their time here, and kids leave, but that seems like a big, like, opportunity. So many opportunities come in high school that it comes time to decide, I want to prioritize music. I want to make this part of my 2 or 3 electives I get per year. Some years only 1 elective. And so my daughter's shifting left and right to try to fit as many music classes as she can in. She loves it. So that being said, I just got an email from the orchestra teacher at Hauser that they are breaking their orchestra concert into 2 concerts this year because there's so many kids that they don't want parents to be there for 3 or 4 hours, that they all want to perform. So it really is a wonderful program. I don't know if you're aware, but they just won the award for Best Communities for Music Education for the 3rd year in a row. Mr. Colombo and Mr. Meyer and Mrs. Ferguson are working wonders with them. I believe that they are owed the opportunity to continue that here with a full music program and a diverse music program. I think that I did a little bit of homework. I'm coming to the party late. I haven't been here for the last 9 years, but I think I'm here for the next 9 years. But I did a little bit of homework on things, and I saw where our school was 9 years ago, where there was a deficit and things like that. And all my more recent research is like, we've come out, we've succeeded. I think it's time to find places to put that surplus, something effective and something that I believe students and parents and community have asked for. I agree with a sit-down where it's more of a two-way conversation. What is going to happen? I think a plan needs to be made. These changes don't need to happen overnight, but what can we do in the next year? What do we see as a five-year goal? Where do we see ourselves in 5 years? Will our high school reach that level of state caliber? We have a lot of students that went to state this year and did well. So I think we could. I think having an amazing music program is a very strong face to show the community and surrounding communities. I don't see how having a strong music program is detrimentally to our finances right now. I don't know the ins and outs of that. So my last thing I want to say, I worked at a music studio, and my boss was amazing. Always had my back. If a client was unhappy, she had my back. If a client said this, not that I was a troublemaker, but anything I suggested, she heard me out. She heard what I have to say. Maria, I've got your back. I don't feel like our teachers have your back. I think you need to. We've talked about bringing in consultants to see what our music department needs. Talk to the teachers. They know what they need. They know the kids. And finally, the last thing I want to say, because I teach piano as well, I see children grow from babies up through high school. I see them develop. I see them grow. Music is one of the only classes here where it's a 4-year program with the same teacher. These teachers get to know our kids. They get to be there for our kids. Everything they do for them goes way above and beyond just, I am a music teacher.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks.
Any additional comment this evening? No? Seeing none. I apologize.
It's all right.
You can give us your name?
Absolutely. My name is Eric West. I live in Brookfield. My wife and I have 2 small children who one day will be attending RB. In addition to that, I'm a music teacher. I teach at Chippewa Middle School in Des Plaines. I have bachelor's and master's degrees in music education, and I'm the junior high choir representative of District 7 of the Illinois Music Educators Association. So I'd like to say I'm an expert in my field. The mission statement for the RB Board of Education begins with, at Riverside Brookfield High School, we value character as well as achievement, a partnership of students, parents, teachers, administrators, and community committed to educational excellence. It continues on, but I'd like to dwell on the last word, excellence. One thing we can all agree on, we want excellent music teachers here at RB. However, you're not going to attract the best to teach here if you're not going to offer them a full-time job. There is no market for part-time music teachers. And by going down this route, you're not going to find excellence. Now, if I can look into the future, what I see is probably another choir teacher leaving RB because she doesn't have the full-time experience that she can get elsewhere. And then the revolving door of teachers spins again. Students join music programs because of the connections they make with their teachers. But eventually students are going to stop joining a choir program, numbers will shrink, and then you might really have the justification to cut down the program to just 2 teachers. Now, all music teachers are certified to teach K through 12 music in all areas. And for a brief history of that, the reason is to benefit small rural schools that have very, very small enrollment. That kind of school can't support having multiple music teachers, and so in those circumstances, it's better to have the band teacher also teach the orchestra and the choir, because without those accommodations, those programs wouldn't exist at all. However, that's far from ideal, and again, it's not excellent. Music teachers are highly specialized in one area. While I'm very good at teaching choir, you don't want me to be in front of your beginning orchestra students. And while I'm sure your band and orchestra teachers could do their best if asked, it wouldn't be excellent. So one last thing, at Chippewa Middle School where I work, we have 2.3 FTEs roughly dedicated to our music department. That's for a campus with only 600 students. We have nearly the same amount of staffing dedicated to music, but enroll 1,000 fewer students. So if Chippewa can fully support its music programs, you can too. It's time to fund 3 full-time teachers. If you really want excellence, as the mission statement says, it's time to put your money where your mouth is, figuratively and literally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So before I move on, anyone else? I'll make sure I wasn't missing anyone again. I apologize again for that. Next on the agenda, we do have discussion of FOIA requests.
We have 4 FOIA requests. Number 1 was Jason Arnold from Tower Point looking for leases relating to our cell tower. Number 2 was a Maggie White, information on who is getting construction management, engineering, architecture, and other related contracts for commercial kitchen. Number 3 was Susan Decker, which is questionable if this was a FOIA. Does the administration, together with the school board, approve a capital project of $2 million without community input? At what threshold dollar amount does the administration and school board need community input to approve a project? Those are both questions. Kirsten Bell requested the first one was a question, assuming the ISBE 2-year world language graduation requirement be implemented as scheduled, how will the world language requirement increase demand for foreign language classes? How many seniors graduate with 2 or more years of credit? So no specific class, so we gave class of 23. And then what is the demographic breakdown of seniors who have less than 2 years of foreign language? Those are the FOIA submitted prior to this board meeting.
So can I ask Dr. Skinkis if you could review for the board and the audience our process on FOIAs? It's a very, the state allowances for FOIA and FOIA exemptions, are very precise. So how do we approach it?
So usually when we get a FOIA, if it's something that we have available, first and foremost, if it's a public record, we'll refer them to the website or where they can find it on the website. If it's a public record that we're required to keep, we have it, it's readily available. We have, we'll pull it, and then we have, I think it's 5 business days, Marianne, is that correct? If we need additional time, we can request additional time. We are not required to make any reports or generate something that we already is not a public report. So, a couple of these were general questions. So I always usually forward them off to the attorney just to make sure. So I provided a general answer to, I think, one of the questions on the Decker and one of the questions or 2 of the questions on the Bell.
Okay. I just think it's important for us to understand that last piece in particular about creation of a data set in response to a FOIA, that I don't want anyone in the public who's submitting FOIAs to think that we're not providing information out, but there are limits to what is allowable under FOIA.
Correct.
That includes the creation of a new public document, for instance.
Correct. And I believe I included, I'm looking right now, but I believe I included in each of those responses that this doesn't qualify as a FOIA, it's a question.
Okay.
And that we're not required to answer that, but I provided some general stuff just so.
I think it's good practice to be responsive, obviously, and I appreciate you and Ms. Nardi working on this with council. I just think it's something to be cognizant of since we've seen an uptick in requests that are labeled as FOIA. Any other discussion or comments or questions on any of that information from anyone? No? Any additional discussion items from the Board of Ed for a discussion later on this evening? No? Ms. Gascon, looking? No. Anyone? No. Okay. Consent agenda, we can move on to approval of minutes. Actually, I do have an additional discussion item I think we'll bring up, I'm sorry. Student advisors to the Board of Education.
Thank you.
I think there was something. I know that the posting has been put out there. Thank you, Dr.
Correct.
Freitas. What's the deadline for that?
This Thursday, the 11th.
Okay. So a couple of members have indicated, I think, an interest in serving on that panel to select the new student advisors to the Board of Education. We've had 2 very good ones this year. We'll ask you both to do a bit of an exit interview survey in terms of experience, lessons learned. I think we can use the similar document from prior years. I know Ryan and Lorena, you guys took the lead on this previously. Ryan, you've put a lot of documents together. So the question is, as a board, we need to decide who would be interviewing new candidates for the Board of Education. So something for us to think about, not decide today, but I think the board needs to have some thoughts on who's interested.
The goal would be to, timeline-wise, would be to do the interviews early May and approve the new student advisors at the May cow.
So quick looking around, who's generally interested?
I've
Bill?
done it the past 2 years, and I'd like to be considered, or I'd like to volunteer to do it again this year.
Okay. I'm seeing Lorena, I'm seeing Bill. Nick, Laura, interest?
I can if you need more than 2.
No, I think, Carolyn?
I don't have the time.
Okay.
Not with the FAFSA.
Not with the FAFSA. Yeah, sorry about that.
Bill,
Boy.
And
you
then
get to do it.
Ryan, interested?
I'm happy to do it if necessary, but I'll also happily hand it off. So I will defer if Bill is interested. I would say the more the merrier in terms of having those experiences.
Well, I know you did a lot of work putting material together and have kind of sat with the student advisors in the last year, if I'm...
And it's informal as well, so
No?
it's not something that...
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. But I think that you've got Bill and I who are willing to volunteer without any, hesitation. So
Okay.
if you're okay with it, I think Bill and I could
No,
certainly do
I just
it.
didn't want to dismiss Ryan if he was also interested, which is what I saw him
Happy
interested.
to pass it off.
Yeah, and then if for
Yeah.
some reason somebody can't
Yeah.
make a meeting, I'm happy to
Okay.
fill in.
So I think we have our 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Ready for consent agenda?
Everyone, I think we're ready for consent agenda.
The Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois takes the following action on the listed consent agenda items. Approves minutes from the meetings held on March 12, 2024, open and closed. Student Handbook 2024-2025, as presented in the April 9, 2024 Board Agenda Packet.
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Locke, and I do believe we need an all in favor on the consent items. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections?
None.
Okay. Thank you. Old business on life safety. Dr. Skinkis?
No new updates.
Okay.
Dr. Smetana, we've wrapped up our life safety report. We're just finalizing things to get, there's no real formal sign-off process, correct?
There will be for old life safety items, like old amendments, like 1920. I'll have to bring that to the board, but nothing for this new project.
Okay.
When do we start our next 10-year cycle?
It's based off of when the state actually approved our last 10-year cycle, not when we did the study or when we submitted it. So I have to double check, but I believe that's sometime this summer or in the fall is when our 10-year cycle is up.
Okay, and then we kicked that off with like an evaluation, right, from our...
So architects will do a life safety
Yes.
walk, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Do we want to do an update on the culinary and the solar panels tonight, or we're still deferring those items?
We haven't had any progress, correct? The architect is still doing preliminary drawings and designs. Nothing's gone out to bid or contracts or anything of that nature, correct?
And we're still working through the legal language on the contract as well.
That was my understanding from them being an old business, but just wanted to
I
confirm.
did send out an update to the board on the Friday update that you could use bond money if needed for the solar panels. But I thought we were, still in the process of kind of waiting to see where their original numbers come in on the kitchen.
And when is
So
bond
when-
counsel coming?
When you sent that, there was a tiny difference in what we would get back. I think it was
It's 15% of the,
like 23 to 17%, something like that?
I don't remember off the top of my
it
head.
was
I wasn't prepared.
15%
I
of
think
the
it was like
85%, but
15%
it
of the,
comes out
yeah.
to be less than 20,000.
Why did, and so I just didn't understand from the document, why does using bond money make a difference in what we would have received back in incentives?
We didn't get that question till right now, so I got to go back and look at it.
I'd have to go
Okay.
back and look at the email, but it's the way the incentive is written.
That's what I thought too. It probably sounds like it's contingent on funding source to some extent. Yeah. But I think it sounds like we need some clarification on that.
Okay, yeah, and so maybe, next time, because that,
Well, that's
Okay.
what that's what I
Yeah.
was sending out. It's like somebody asked if there was any penalties or anything for using it.
right.
So that was the answer.
And then I saw the difference, but then it didn't say why, and so maybe, yeah.
Okay, so let's make sure we address that when we
Yeah.
actually get into the weeds on that next time. Thank you. Moving on to new business payment of bills. I didn't think there were any questions submitted.
No questions were submitted. Dr. Smetana, anything the board needs to be aware of?
Okay. Ms. Gaska?
The Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois approves the payment of bills as presented in the April 9, 2024 Board Agenda Packet.
Second. Second by Ms. Locke, and we have a roll call.
Ms. Gasko?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Ms. Slack?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes.
Mr. Benhorst?
Yes.
Mr. Durkin?
Yes.
And Ms. Salas?
Yes. And we do have a first read on the textbook adoption. Did you want those tonight, though?
No, Ms. Lindquist will be at the April Cow,
Okay.
and that still provides time. There was one question submitted, Dr. Freitas.
Yeah, and paraphrasing the question, it was relating to textbook expiration, in this case software, earlier than expected. And really, I mean, the simple answer is that there was a miscommunication with our previous rep. We have a new rep, and adjustments haven't been made to the process. You know, sometimes it's like a year software renewal, 2 year, 3 years. So we fix communications, and we'll make sure everything's correct moving forward.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think it moved up payment to
Yeah.
a year earlier than
Yeah.
maybe we anticipated. That's what I saw in there. Okay, thank you. So that'll be a first read. And then we do have Varsity Cheer Overnight Summer Camp Trip. That is for approval tonight, or is that a first read?
Did we approve the bills already?
Approve the other one.
Yeah, so
We did. Okay.
No, we didn't. I don't think we did a resolution for the bills, did we?
For,
The
Payment of bills?
Payment of bills?
We did.
It was
Yeah.
Gaska and
Just
Locke,
did.
and we did.
Okay.
I seconded.
yep.
Okay. I went right over our heads.
Okay, no, I wrote it down.
I'm sorry.
It was too fast. And that was a first read on textbook and then Varsity Cheer.
Correct. Dr.
Yes.
Freitas, the
So,
chair.
honorable board members, so last month we approved the trip, and I always listen to feedback from my teachers and coaches, and in this case, we found a closer trip instead of Carthage. I believe in Kenosha, Wisconsin, we found a camp in Benedictine. It's also about $300, cheaper, so it's more accessible and affordable to students. So this was approved before. There's no problem if the board may approve it again. Still, chaperones, everything's organized again. It's just a $300 in savings. It was a savings.
So we're not doing the other one then?
No, we're not going to, and location, we're not going to Carthage, Wisconsin, now we're going to Benedictine.
Okay.
So that was not clear to me either. I would have asked it as a question, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is in the other one gets canceled, and this one is the one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So do you want approval tonight from the board, Dr. Freitas?
Yes, honorable board members, if that's not a problem, yes, please.
Concerns or questions on this?
Nothing's really changed except location and price.
Just different,
And it's a
different school, it
savings.
sounds like.
Yeah, different school.
And
more
it's the
affordable.
same amount of time, right? Because the
Yes,
other one was
yes.
kind of comprehensive,
nights
okay.
over.
But a lot
3 days.
more affordable.
A lot more
Yeah.
affordable.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Benedict.
Yeah. I have no objections to tonight. We all good?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois approves the overnight trip for cheerleading to participate in the CB Mass Cheer Camp at Benedictine University, Lisle, Illinois, from June 28th through 30th, 2024, as presented in the April 9th, 2024 Board Agenda Packet.
Second.
Second from Mr. Van Horst, and we do need a roll call.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Ms. Slack?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes.
Mr. Benhorst?
Yes.
Mr. Durkin?
Yes.
Ms. Gasko?
Yes.
And Ms. Salas?
Yes. This is our second opportunity for visitors' comments this evening. I saw we have someone new show up.
I'll sign this one, I'm done. My name is Maggie White, Riverside. Board members, first, I would like to correct some data that was presented by Assistant Principal Lindquist. Last time around, she presented 4 of the 6 classes that had a 0 request. Those 4 classes were nowhere to be found on the curriculum guide. They were, I'm just looking through my notes, world percussion, advanced acting and directing, theater tech, and improv and sketch comedy. So those, I'm kind of a curriculum guide nerd. Those have not been on the curriculum guide in my 3 years here. So hopefully that error will be corrected. Also, in the spirit of just bringing information as a community member to this board, one of our board members brought something to my attention from our neighbor LT. I thought this was interesting. At Lyons Township, they have a policy for running course selections below the cap. Their cap is 18 students, and they've got some guidelines on running courses below the cap. It says, at Lyons Township, all efforts are made to run course selections with approximately 18 students. There are situations, however, where some courses are being recommended to run with fewer than 18 students per section. It goes on to state 3 criteria in which courses with enrollments under 18 are given special consideration to run. Those reasons include capstone and specialty courses, like those that are part of a well-defined sequence, and other courses that provide a unique opportunity for students. At their March 18, 2024 board meeting, the board was presented with a list of 32 classes running below the 18 cap. So yes, these are different sized districts, but we can pull out some nuggets to guide our policy making in the spirit of having aspirational and continual improvement. One thing that struck me is somewhere on the continuum of 18 to 30 or 40 might be a good spot for us at some point. I also thought this was a good example of board policy where the wording was very clear and specific, yet it provided the superintendent with the flexibility of making informed judgment calls. It is allowing for exceptions without managing by exceptions. So I thought that was just an interesting place to compare. I guess some of the other things I was going to say were already covered, but I would also say I do hope that we meet and set a time to sort of proactively talk about the future of the program in the spirit of having a programmatic approach, in the spirit of understanding the difference between, say, a music class versus a ceramics class, and what are the different needs of the students of all different abilities and goals versus ceramics class and other things. I think some of the community have expressed that. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi. My name is Naomi Salepis, and I'm a Brookfield resident, and I have a sophomore here at RB. Her name's Jane, and she was one of the mathletes who came home with this big old medal from Normal, Illinois on Saturday, so that was really exciting. She's also in the honors jazz band here at RB. So that's what I wanted to just talk about, is to draw you a timeline of what these kids are dealing with. I just came back from a concert at SC Gross, that's why I was late here today. And there's a young man here who was playing at the concert. He's an 8th grader, and he's coming here next year in band. And so my daughter's jazz band experience at SC Gross in District 95 was that the first year we were there, it was really special. There was a huge jazz band. There was 2 different sections, a beginners and an intermediate. And then 6th grade March is when the pandemic closed the school. And 7th grade, they were not able to offer any jazz band at all. They did 7th grade on Zoom, which was nobody liked that. It was kind of awful. And then 8th grade, she was able to get up at 7 in the morning and be at school, and they did jazz band one morning a week before school if you wanted to be in that club. At the 8th grade concert, which was the equivalent of tonight's concert for the middle school, there were 3 kids. There was a 4th kid who had been in the club, but she didn't show up that night. So she's a survivor of the pandemic in jazz band. She came here to RB. You had just the one course offered with Mr. Lowe, and she had a fantastic experience. And one of the things that I think was so important is that for the first time when kids come to RB, they're not restricted to grade level, that if they want to excel, and she hadn't taken any private lessons, if they wanted to excel, they could excel. So this year she auditioned and got into the honors jazz band class. But according to what's happening here, there isn't not going to be an honors jazz band, or it's not going to be co-taught. It's going to run at the same time as the all jazz band will be in one period taught by one teacher again next year, instead of what it was this year, where it was co-taught, and there were really 2 different groups of students, one at the more advanced level and one at the beginner level within the same. So that's what looks like it's happening next year, unless we can get something adjusted. The other part of the timeline that I wanted to draw out for you related to, is it 3 minutes? Related to music interest is just that at this concert I was just at, we have 60 6th graders who are in band. It's the largest band that SE Girls has ever had. We're back to having a jazz band that was 25 kids, where she can have an intermediate and a beginner group again. And the freshmen who are coming in next year are the ones who were in 5th grade and totally missed their first year of music. So don't we owe it to them to provide more rather than less? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone else looking to speak this evening? Or are there new attendees? No. Any consideration of items for future meetings from members of the Board of Education? Anything?
Well, but it doesn't have to be the next meeting or something, just put it on our list. Foreign language, that's coming, we had talked about it in the past, because we don't have as many offerings as we had at one point. And I think last year we kind of asked, what are some other schools doing? What are some other options? Are there innovative forms, maybe using some online supplements, and just to kind of follow up with that to see if the department heads have kind of looked into some other models and what we're going to be moving. And like I said, that don't have to be the next meeting. I just want to put it on the list, so when it's most appropriate, we can have a discussion on it.
So I guess Dr. Skinkis, give us some feedback as to when that would be an appropriate discussion related to the curriculum guide in the fall, over the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it won't be the next presentation is just a short presentation on goals. Dr. Freitas will be leading that.
When do we see the department heads again?
Maybe in May. Wasn't planned.
You mean? Because I think
divisionals, you mean?
Division heads?
The division heads, sorry. Yeah, the division heads. Because I think possibly when they come and present, that might be something that they might present
Usually
on.
that's in the fall, early fall.
Well, and the early fall would be fine, because I just want to put it on the list so you have time to give it to our division heads, and they have time to kind of
Dr. Freitas
research and
can
see
cover
what
that.
other schools are doing.
Some schools have, we've talked about this prior.
Yeah.
We're starting to see some reductions in schools that were offering some other languages, because it's hard to staff 5 full-time sections.
Right, so, can we do something with partnership with our Triton, like, how can we think out of the box for that, so we
Right.
get
I think
more
the other-
languages?
The other question is, we're hiring some of these retirees who has dual certification.
Yeah.
I think we would emphasize, and I know that the administration has done this, but as we are looking for candidates, people who are flexible and able to bring dual certification with language and something else would be incredibly beneficial.
Right.
That's another think out of the box, how do we stretch, being a one school, small school, we have challenges, so, yeah.
Right? Need some dual certifications in some of the elective areas, sure.
Yeah, some options, and like I said, fall would be fine, but just to get it on our list.
Keep it as a priority.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about it in context of our goal review also at the next meeting. I think
Yeah.
our goal review has been very comprehensive, and I think the one that relates to curriculum supporting student interests, that's where that needs to come into play as well.
Yeah, and kind of even looking at what does that mean, that language requirement, and that, because when my kids went through, it was always told to them if they did 4 years of a language, they could skip that requirement in college, and so all 4 of mine had 4 years of language.
I believe some of that information is included in the curriculum guide.
Yes.
It says like a state school requires 2 years or this, or
To waive that.
Have you guys run into this as you do your college applications, the 4-year? I find it to be a bit of a mixed approach, but.
So were you able to waive your language requirement if you did 4 years in high school?
Yes, only because I started freshman year, I started with heritage speakers.
Okay.
And I'm graduating from here, from RB, with my seal of biliteracy.
Okay.
Because I did all 4 years of high school from honors to heritage speakers to AP Lang and then now AP Lit. So now I only have to take one more Spanish AP class after this, but
In college?
yeah, because there's one more class that leads up to it,
Okay.
but it's not offered here, so I still have to take it in college.
So you still have to take 1 year of language then?
But that's to get the seal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. But if
So she
if
wouldn't be
you weren't trying to
required.
get the seal, would a student have to, take a language if they had 4 years?
I don't think she'd be required, but
You would
No,
be
because people
required.
have the seal with their
And
4
then
years.
we
yeah.
also do. I
I'm
don't
looking
know
at
if it's
Dr.
called
Freitas
the
to confirm, but I'm
Apple
pretty sure.
exam that we also take in AP that also helps give us the seal in case we don't pass the AP exams.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 2 options that helps us.
Remember, folks, to earn the seal of biliteracy, you must demonstrate proficiency.
Yeah.
Right, in AP English or SAT, meet the threshold.
Okay.
And also in the Apple exam, like a 4-language exam, or having passed the NAP exam with a 3, 4, or 5. So you have to be proficient in English and in the world language, whatever language that may be.
Okay.
Can I add one thing? This might be a Friday update, but what is our plan? It's probably not a Friday update, but what is our plan for the pathway endorsements on the 27, 29, and 31 requirements? Just something, whether it's discussion or not, just having a little bit of...
career pathway endorsements. Yeah, I think Beth could speak to that. She's coming next week, I believe, to touch on the goals.
I think that would be a nice discussion, because I'm not fully clear on those pathways. I think an expanded discussion on those would be helpful, and I think we probably will have to revisit it, but a nice introduction would be really helpful, Ryan. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's mandated, so, and that's also going to kind of change the layout of the land a little bit. I think once we get that information, it'll resonate before we realize just how much it's going to kind of change what students are doing or different options too.
Well, I think we started hearing about it with the discussion at our last board meeting, but I think you're right, Ryan, to keep, it needs to be on the radar. And
We're
obviously
ahead
the
of
team
pace.
is working on it.
We're ahead of pace with our career pathway endorsements.
And I'm just curious what direction we're looking with the 3 in the long term, 3 to 5, whatever, by 31.
Okay. Matters for closed session, we have appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body. We have student discipline, individual student matters, purchase, sale, or lease of real property, probable imminent or pending litigation, collective negotiations, school safety, and superintendent evaluation.
The Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois enters closed session for the purpose of considering the closed session matters as presented in the April 9, 2024 board agenda packet.
Second.
Second, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Slack?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes.
Mr. Redhorn?
Yes.
Mr. Durkin?
Yes.
Ms. Gasko?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
And Ms. Davis?
Yes. Okay. It is 7:50. We convene downstairs in 10 minutes, everyone. Does that work for the board?